Well, welcome back. Today we are going to do something a little different. Rather than talking about horses, well, it is sort of horse related. I had talk about a little project here we're going to work on. Well, let's see what we got here. We've got what is left of a lunge whip. We actually resurrected this one from the dead several years ago a few times, but because the rubber cap came off of the fiberglass that protects the string. It kept poking through the string. I had to keep cutting it off, making it shorter so I could get the string back on, because as you can see, you can't get the string up over that. Okay. But what we decided, well, eventually the string went off. It's done. There's not much left of the thing, but it's still got a decent handle. We got a little fiberglass stick here. I started thinking, rather than throwing it out, maybe we can use it for something. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's make a flag out of it. Now, I already have one, so I don't really have to have one. But I thought, well, I like to repurpose things. I hate seeing things get thrown out. Don't want to go into waste. So we thought we'd going to turn this into a flag. And before I get started on this, I'll explain what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pull this string down a bit. I'm going to shorten this fiberglass off a little more yet again. And it'll still have enough length for it. And then for a flag, what we are going to use is, well, that tarp there, the scary blue tarp, you know what that one is like. Well, it had a bit of a mishap. It's got some tears, and it's not very good as a tarp anymore, but I thought, hey, what the heck, maybe it'll make a good flag, because it's got that nice little metal ring on the corner of it for strength, for attaching. So we're just going to cut the corner off of that. So we're going to get into that, and we'll get back to you in just a minute. Okay, what we've done now so far is we've cut this fiberglass centerpiece off a bit so that we can get this string pulled back up around the outside, but we don't want it to keep coming out the side of it like this. So, well, what we did is this is supposed to have a little rubber cap on it, but that went missing. It went up the end of the string, and, well, I couldn't get it back down. Anyhow, so what we did is we smoothed this off, rounded it off a little, so it'll probably eventually still come through, but for now, it's going to be a lot slower. And you can use just about anything you want, a file, some coarse sandpaper, anything you want. As you can see, we've kind of rounded it off a little bit, smoothed it off, and we used our rasp, because we happen to have one handy, so that's what we used. Now we've also got our piece of tarp cut down that we're going to use, and as I said, nice corner ring in it, good for attaching to. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to, once we're done with this thing, we're going to pull this string back up like that. Okay. Now this fiberglass rod is actually way down about there. We're going to see if we can get this up a little bit further yet. Oh, a little bit more. Anyhow. And we're going to get it up as far as we can, and we're going to see if we can just tie this through the hole there to attach it. So it makes attaching very, very simple, and maybe after we've tied it, maybe we'll glue it or something so it doesn't come untied, maybe wrap some tape around it, something. However, I am sure that material is going to wear faster than this metal ring, so eventually that metal ring is going to wear through there, but hey, we're making this whole thing for, including our materials, maybe a few dollars. And to buy one, they're actually hard to get in a lot of places. There aren't many of them around. Buying a flag, and the one I have that I use, I actually bought it at the store. Most stores don't stock them around here, and I just happened to be lucky. I was in the store. They happened to have some in. They just brought a few in to see how they'd sell, and it cost a little over $30. This one, when we're done, like I said, we already got ourselves a nice little fiberglass stick, got a nice little handle on it, and this is probably going to cost us a couple dollars worth of materials by the time we're done, and a little bit of our time. So I'm just trying to show you that you don't have to break the bank when you're buying stuff for your horse. Sometimes you can repurpose things and use your imagination a little bit. For the purpose of making one of these things, you could probably use just about anything. I'm thinking maybe an old CB antenna. They're a nice fiberglass rod. Strip the wire off from the outer coating. That'd lighten it up a little. Probably be about the same as one of these things. And then wrap a pile of duct tape around the handle, around the end of it to make a handle. You know, make it a little bit extra thick at the one spot there so your hand doesn't slide off the end. Kind of like this thing has, you know, I see how it's thicker there at the end. So your hand doesn't slide off. But an old fishing pole, man, I think that'd probably be ideal if you had one of them, because you know they're nice and light. They usually have a pretty nice handle on them. You take the reel off if the ends broke off anyhow, doesn't matter. You only need 3-4 feet of the thing, and the exact length doesn't really matter. In personal preference, you might actually want one a little longer or shorter to suit your personal needs, depending how tall you are, how long your arms are, whatever. But this little project here is just to show you, you don't have to go broke buying stuff to work with your horse, okay? Because by the time we're done, we're going to have a flag. And this is actually not the first lunge whip I've repurposed for something. You can find these things lying around because they don't last forever. And even brand new, they're not that horribly expensive. They're actually only about $14. So there you go. But another little problem we have here is anybody that knows anything about these tarps is they're prone to fraying. And eventually, if you don't do something about these edges, they're going to fray, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of these, well, kind of look like that. You'll have all these blue strings all over the place, and, well, we don't want that. Horses will be inhaling them or eating them or whatever, and eventually your tarp will just, well, you won't have one anymore. Your flag will just disappear. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take these edges. I haven't quite decided yet if I'm just going to glue them or if I'm going to glue them and fold them over like that. But we're going to use some hot glue. We got the hot glue gun plugged in down over there, ready to go. So we'll get that going, and we'll get back to you. By the way, the exact size of this, that doesn't matter. Whatever. I don't even know. I didn't even measure my other one to see what size it was. I just looked and figured, yeah, looks about good. Close enough. I really don't think the horse cares. So, okay, here's our little do-it-yourself project. This is how to make a flag. Back to you again in just a minute, okay? Well, only took us a couple of minutes worth of work and finished project already. There really wasn't much to it. As you can see, like I said, I wasn't sure what to do with the end, but I tied it. And then we glued it so it can't come untied. I doubt it's going to last forever. I think that string is going to wear through, or maybe this thing's going to disintegrate. I don't know. But there you go. We now have a flag. It's a little bit heavier than the other one I got. Not bad though. I think this is going to work okay. I was a little concerned about the noise it was going to make because, as we know, these tarps are prone to making a lot of noise, and the horses don't like that. But as it turns out, it actually doesn't make too much noise. This one's actually fairly well worn, but a little caution here. We discovered something is the hot glue is actually hot enough. We melted a hole through this stuff, so you might want to use some other kind of glue, but the hot glue did do the job. That is what we finished off with, but we just put it on a little faster and we're a little more careful once we realized it was actually hot enough to burn a hole through the stuff. So maybe your tarp won't do that. Maybe your glue won't be quite as hot. Don't know, but there you go. What did that cost me? Well, the whole thing, start to finish, cost me about 10 minutes of my time, not including the time it took me to do this video, and I don't know, maybe one stick of glue. And well, as you can see, I bought this bag of glue sticks for my glue gun, I don't even know how many years ago now. Bought enough of them that I've been using them, and we still have some. Anyhow, I don't know what that cost. One stick of glue on my hot glue gun. You could maybe use ordinary glue, whatever you got laying around, whatever's handy, what you got the most of, what's the cheapest. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Is it perfect? Does it look pretty? Well, maybe not quite. Actually, this doesn't look too bad. It almost looks like it's supposed to be a flag. So, but I'm going to give it a try. I think it's going to actually work okay. I was a little concerned that this was going to make a little too much noise, because we do want it to flap a little bit, but we don't. I was a little worried that this tarp stuff might actually be a little too noisy, but I've been shaking it around in here. Turns out not bad at all. So I think this thing's going to work out really nice. And another thing you can do for repurposing, an old stick of some kind, You can also tape a plastic bag onto the end and use that as your desensitizing. So anyhow, there's our little trick for the tip for the day. I'll get back to you. I'm going to test it out here, and I'll get back to you and let you know how it works. Okay? Talk to you in a bit. Well, welcome back to the conclusion. Yep, we got our homemade flag here. We tried it out, and it actually works okay. The only thing I would say, the only thing I found as a downside about this thing is the material. This piece of tarp, although it doesn't seem like much, it actually does seem to be a little bit on the heavy side. It does seem heavier than my other one, so possibly you might want to use a material that weighs a little less. I don't think you'd want to make the flag any smaller, but you might want to find something that weighs a little bit less. But other than that, works like a charm. Nice comfortable handle on it. And all for, I don't know what that sticky glue cost, but this is all stuff that was basically junk. We just chopped a piece off of a tarp that wasn't any good as a tarp anymore. This lunge whip would have been eventually in the garbage. So now we have a flag. To go and buy one, looking at the one I got, I paid over $30 for, so that's what you're saving by making your own stuff. And these things don't last forever, so you're bound to find one laying around sooner or later. This is actually the second one here that I've found laying around that was no longer usable as a lunge whip. You can always turn it into something else. But, like I said, you want to make one of these things, an old fishing pole, a CB antenna, all kinds of things. Use your imagination, and for your piece of material on the end, an old piece of clothing of any kind, it really doesn't matter. The horse doesn't care. It still works the same no matter what. Okay, have a good day and save a buck. Bye.